I decided to have a few prophecies today. You know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
7?
just one,
Oh, well,
just one. So I got six more to go.
that's a Tuesday for me.
Yeah, probably the greatest prophecy a man could have. You know what that is, right? Like that would just
No.
make life easy, um, make things much more comfortable for all native men across the world. If we could prophesize um, what our wives want to eat for dinner.
Yeah. The dinner conversation.
I know it's a tough one. It's a
What
tough
do
one.
you want to eat?
If we could prophesize, we would already know.
What? No, what are you hungry for?
Yeah. What are you hungry for? No, it's a trap.
Mhm.
It's a trap
The
every
real
time.
question should be how much do you want to spend and how much time do we have?
Yeah. Well,
Are we in
no.
rush? Then yeah, let's get something fast then.
Yeah.
Do you want to blow $100?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's
Well,
do
that's
that.
well, that's a Tuesday night here in Vancouver.
Oh yeah. Us country folk, we don't dabble in that.
Um, I just I just uploaded a reel recently to our YouTube channel.
The Kiaya one?
No, this one it's unlabeled. All it says is powwow songs, but it sounds like a recording of a recording, like recording of a record or a tape on one side of it. But I want to show you this song. It's a pretty good one,
Okay, shoot.
and then let's give her a listen. But there's some
Okay.
good songs on here, really good ones. And I think I put in the description. Maybe I should have put in the title, asking folks that listen if they might be able to help identify who these people are.
You might have to summons what's his name? Crit?
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he might know. Yeah, here we
He
go.
might know.
Here we go. Coming in slow.
And that sounds like it's from here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Here you go. Pick it up now. Yeah. Pretty good tune, huh?
Yeah, that's a pretty song.
It's kind of got the that standard standard lead, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it could be a song that you know.
Hey,
Like,
I am. It
yeah.
sound to me the sound of it, the composure of it, it sounds like it's from here.
Yeah.
But
I,
I've never heard it, but that doesn't mean anything.
I would agree. Well, go to the show notes, click on the link for this particular reel, show it around, ask around, see if
Show
somebody
her.
knows. What?
Is she time stamped?
I time stamped her. Yes, sir.
All right.
Check it out.
Unknown track number 1.
Unknown. I don't even. It's like the fifth song in, I think. Fifth song
Okay.
in.
I like it. I like the song. I'm gonna sing it.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. You ought to.
Yeah. There was a
Uh,
powwow tonight.
there's a powwow tonight.
Yeah, it's probably still going on. I sang one song
Then just left.
and went I just dropped in, boom, sang one song and dipped.
Why was it boring or something? What happened?
No, 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 no. I was waiting for a particular part of it, and
Oh,
which was the chairman was gonna have a giveaway, and
oh, I
but
see.
it was
I
like
see.
happening. It wasn't happening in the time frame in which I needed it to or
Oh,
wanted it to.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I
You
dipped.
bailed.
No, we had a little birthday party, so we did that. So I wanted to make it back in time for that.
Oh, I see. Whose birthday?
Yeah. Miranda's daughter.
Oh, right. Happy birthday. Happy
She's
birthday.
20? 20, yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy 20th.
Truly who?
Did you say 20? You said 20.
20, yeah. 20.
Hey, do you remember you remember watching Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah, yeah, vaguely though. Because
Okay.
it was a little bit before me.
Okay.
I mean, it
Well,
was before me, but they played movies longer back then, it seemed like.
yeah. Well, Conan was pretty popular during my heyday,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody run around with a stick and chopping heads off or whatever. But remember his well, I don't know if you remember the storyline, but his people got slaughtered by some
Yeah.
folks from the north. I think they're from the north. But these people were looking for a particular type of sword, the quest for steel, they called it. Anyway, they captured all the women and kids or whatever. Conan was among them, but I guess he grew up kind of tough and strong and got put into the ring, like death bouts.
Yeah.
Turned out he was pretty good at killing people, I guess. Then he got some advanced training because of that. He got trained in swordsmanship and all that to be a gladiator. But there was a scene where he's sitting on a table and all his trainers are sitting around him getting drunk and eating. Then the one guy asks his son, what's best in life? Then he says something like, feel the wind in your hair, have a falcon at your wrist. And the guy says, no, wrong. Gets after his son. And he says, Conan, what's best in life? Do you remember what he said? Probably don't.
No, I don't.
He says, to crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. and, and they're all happy. That is good.
I can't believe that just happened.
Well, yeah. I mean,
There
it's
was
like
a there was a Conan impersonation on the pod.
to crush your enemies, see them driven before. Yeah, I mean this is classic stuff from my day.
So the real question is, why are you bringing it up?
Well, I'm
What's
curious.
I sure hope this has a point.
Well, I was hoping that
You're like,
you would think of a
you're like
point while I was telling you all this.
you're like you're like I've just been really working on my Arnold
Yeah,
impersonation.
that's all.
I
That's all.
wanted to bring it out.
No, there's a point here.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this for a little while, about this question, what is best in life? And we talked about this in a very specific context and in a very specific way. And we talked about we talked about it in the terms of like deeds, right? Sort of centered in the past. But we tried to bring that forward and to think about how that equates to today. For a man, mind you, for a man, not a woman, because we're two men and we can't conceive of those things for the female gender.
So that's so thoughtful of you.
well, gotta be.
Yeah.
We gotta acknowledge what we know and what we don't know.
Is this is gonna be a deep episode? Is that what's happening?
I don't
here?
know. I'm rolling with what's on my mind. So I've been thinking about this and about this question: what is best in life? And
what is best in life?
I mean, that's too huge of a question, like to answer in like to throw at you and say, okay, Aaron, what's best in life? So I want to contextualize it somewhat, and I want to pair that idea of what I just said, what is best in life, with the idea of living with I guess, what would we call it? Like a philosophy of extinction. Okay, think about that for a second.
Okay.
What is best in life?
What is best in life?
Under this idea that maybe, I don't know, okay, maybe this will be the first part of the discussion. Have native people been living with a philosophy of extinction? Like, have we been living our lives and building the constructs of what is real and what is moral based on this idea that we're headed toward our own demise?
Did you have is this one of your prophecies?
No.
Are you
no. I only had one prophecy. I had one prophecy today. That was it.
So, is that, are you done, or when do we start?
Yeah, no. I just want to hear. I want to hear your initial thoughts based on that. Then I have some other thoughts related, but I want to hear your thoughts on that because you have one moccasin in the past. One.
So I mean, yes.
I mean, you work in a field to where things from the past are often considered, but not. I don't know how far past. One time I remember we had a discussion about something, and I was thinking like 6,000 years old was not that long ago. But that is
that's pretty far though. That's pretty
long
far.
time. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
I mean, because you're a geologist, I think that your mind deals with geological time, you know?
Yeah.
So even if you subscribe to the theory of Beringia, or the Bering Straits theory, and not everyone does, but so even if you do, that still puts us here anywhere from 15 to 25,000 years ago. That's a long time. So regardless of the belief, I admittedly go back and forth with the Bering Straits concept.
Yeah.
But I also am one of these people that it has no bearing on my identity, meaning like if even if we did come across
Yeah.
uh, I don't want to say land bridge, but it's actually called Beringia, right? So
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
it, if even if that's how we got here, that doesn't affect me at all. Like it does not make me feel less native or more
Really?
native or
Really?
just
Wow.
so.
I'm
But
just kidding.
that's more of the origins.
Okay.
You're talking more of the end.
I think so. I want to
Yeah.
yeah. I want
Okay,
to
so
interrogate this idea of
at my first glance, I would
yeah.
say Native people didn't think that way, but that's not true. There is a crow prophecy
Okay,
or
here we go.
teaching. I'll say
Yeah.
teaching
Yeah.
that and actually there's several of them. But one of them is when the when we cease to no longer have the tobacco plant,
Yeah.
which we call it that we will cease to exist as crows. So I
Hmm.
don't know what that means. I don't know if that just means we'll be something else or for.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
another view of that where they'll say if all the crows were adopted into the tobacco society, then we will all be taken to the other side camp.
Hmm.
So, but again,
Yeah.
I may have only heard those things like once or twice and in very specific situations. They're not something crow, it's not something crow people culturally think about, or
Yeah.
it's not like even a driving force as a
Yeah.
people. What we do as a people, we just our job is just to move towards luck. So we move towards
Yeah.
good fortune.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we don't dwell on it. Now, I think individually that might be different. People
Okay.
probably do think about things like that, like
Yeah.
their end of their life. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's totally unnatural. I think it's frowned on
Okay.
in in like the church
Yeah.
because I was kind of raised in that, so I know like they like even though there's a lot of talking about death in the church, it's still like it's not like it's almost has a negative connotation to it where the crows would just say there's any lodges in the other side camp. So like it's just there's room
Hmm.
for all of us. We'll be all right. It's kind
Yeah.
of the idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. And then there's like some other stories. There's another one where we're given some sacred items, and that the use of one of these items will stop kind of everything, kind of a Thanos kind of
Oh,
a
really?
thing,
Like a Thanos snap.
Yeah. Yeah, a Thanos snap. Yeah. So, but again, don't know what that means really, if it's literal or if it's like,
Yeah.
because being a crow and being alive might be two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When those things are talked about, they usually are talking about being pro-Indian and not necessarily being alive.
Hmm.
So you can be alive and not be a pro-Indian, I guess, is maybe the thought. I don't know.
What? Say that again.
Like the crow people by blood can be around, but that doesn't mean we're gonna be crows. We're not gonna be we don't they're what if the annihilation of the crow people just means culturally we're nothing anymore. We're just like
Oh.
everybody.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I got you. I got you.
Because we live in a time where you can choose, where that wasn't a thing back then. You couldn't
Yeah.
choose. That's what you were.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can choose not to be crow. I can just like
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. That's strange,
I
ain't
can,
it?
yeah.
That is strange. That's a strange, strange thing. That is a
And that's
strange
something
thing.
I think people have never had to deal with. I think we're probably the third or fourth generation really in our area that has to negotiate those. Because
Yeah.
before that, even the early reservation people were probably just dealing with literal survival. So
Yeah.
like their
Yeah. Yeah.
process is a little different. They're dealing with literal survival where
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't we're surviving, right?
Yeah.
trying to think, but so we can choose not to be Crows or choose not to be Salish or choose not
Yeah.
and just do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So maybe we're not
That's
in
really
that and yeah, in that way we're not like our ancestors, they didn't have to negotiate those things.
yeah. That's an odd thing I never even thought about. We can choose. In the past, you
Mhm.
couldn't. So I guess that's kind of what, I don't know, man. I
So
don't know, man.
maybe that's what this whole, and that's where your topic maybe is supposed to go, is not the end of human people or
Yeah.
the extinction of who we are, our genetically, or
Yeah.
really the extinction of who we are as a people. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
entrusting we're entrusting tribal members to make the decision to be native.
Yeah. 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 But then again, who's the we? Who's the we are?
I think the people who are practicing
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
are people
Okay.
that are hoping there's others
Yeah.
doing it. And here's the thing is we're losing.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the majority of native people are choosing not to be practicing natives.
yeah. Yeah. Or don't know how.
Because
Like,
well,
well,
that's like semantics though.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like not a no, not, it's if you look at it, let's just pretend there's no gray area.
Yeah.
You're either being native and
Yeah.
in the most realistic form that you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not.
Well, yeah. Well, but I mean, well, think about it. Like someone can actively choose not to, like they have opportunity, but they choose not to engage in that opportunity. Whereas there's some who don't
Yeah,
engage in that because they don't have the opportunity.
but that's a chronology thing. That just means somebody made that decision before them. So
Okay.
someone made the decision not to be before them. Because
Okay.
usually
Okay.
your environment is predicated on
Right.
especially your cultural environment is
Yeah.
predicated on who you surround yourself
Right.
with.
Right. Or someone could have made that decision for that person,
And
such
yeah,
as
and so that
residential
environment
school
was
and those kind of things.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's where people can get too far in the weeds, is like they look at where that force came from
Yeah.
when you almost like shouldn't look at that no more. I mean, that's more for like mental health, right?
Yeah.
You got to look at the roots of problems. But when
Yeah.
you're really just looking at doing and not doing,
Yeah.
it's like it comes down, it doesn't come down to anybody else. And we got
Yeah.
to get out of that thinking. It comes down to you.
Yeah. And doing
So
anything.
for
Okay.
example, would you
Okay.
yourself, you consider yourself a practitioner of Salish belief?
Yeah, I'd say yeah. From the
Yeah,
things that I know. Yeah.
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 Now, would you say, and I don't mean this to be controversial, but was that all learned from your family?
No.
No, you
No.
made a decision, right?
Yeah.
To seek out information.
Yeah. True. Mm-hmm.
So how come it was a path you were able to find,
Right.
I was able to find?
Yeah.
I didn't learn everything from my family.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of a
Does that
counseling
mean
session now.
does that mean others are exempt? Are they exempt? Because
No.
in kind of a
Well,
weird way, that's
I don't
almost
know.
the direction you were almost setting. Shandin was
Yeah.
like, well, they don't have that opportunity is not placed in front of them. It wasn't always placed in front of you, was it?
Right. Yeah. All right. It's true. It's true.
But I do
I,
get what you're saying.
yeah.
I do
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
especially early on when you're first learning and you're
Yeah.
first trying going. You almost need a culture buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's those
And
people,
usually, yeah,
there's always those people that just they simply don't take no for an answer and they get right into it. They don't
they
get
do.
discouraged. They don't let nothing stand in their way. They just go. Next thing you know, they're a full blown medicine man healing people. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
but you know what I
Well,
mean.
that might be another. That's for another podcast.
That's another. Yeah, that's another thing. But okay,
we also
let me.
have to.
Okay, also have to what?
Well, we have to negotiate pace too,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I don't think was ever a thing.
yeah,
The
yeah,
pace in which you learn things.
yeah,
See, enculturation was real back then, right? So they're
yeah,
just who they are.
yeah,
They're immersed in their environment. Their environment is culture,
yeah,
and it's. I mean, that's actually a bad anthropological statement. What I just because everybody has culture.
yeah.
Everybody has 100% culture.
Every
It's just
time,
whether or not.
all the
But
time.
yeah.
60%
So
of the time, all the
so
time.
60% of the time, it works all the time. So if I said I'm gonna learn this now, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna learn man, like we're think about it, dude. Did
Yeah.
anyone teach you how to be a sing Cree round dance?
No, it's all self-taught. You listen to tape and
It's
you
all
just
self-taught.
yeah.
So you mean to tell me that you as a Salish person from the Flathead Indian Reservation could learn how to sing the Cree round dance style? What Cree round dance opportunity was put in front of you?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean here and there, but
Not a lot, but you
yeah.
figured it out.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out Cree round dance, can't
Mhm.
somebody with a blank slate figure out the basics of their own cultures?
I guess. I mean, yeah.
Nobody taught me how to drink Fireball, and I figured that out, you know? Nobody taught me how to order a shot at the bar, and I figured that out.
Okay, okay. All right. You made your point. Okay. But let me bring this back to this idea of extinction
Oh yeah, where
or
were we going?
I know, yeah,
Extinction.
we
You want to talk about the end of you want to talk about the
no
end of days.
end of days, yeah, prophecies and the end of days. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, so this is the thing. This is what I was thinking about this. Sort of that
And
idea.
Salish is now on the podcast. So hi, Salish.
What? You're cutting out. What'd you say?
So Salisha's here now, so
Oh,
she's now
Salisha.
included in the discussion.
Oh
So
yeah, Salisha. So
so
we're
since you're
talking
gonna
about
rephrase the question,
yeah,
yeah.
this is the thing. So in considering the things that are best in life, like the things you strive the things you strive to do as a person, as a cultural group, uh, are those things facilitated by a philosophy of extinction? Like this idea that we're at the beginning of the end. And I was gonna transition in, but you did it for me into like prophecy, right? So a lot of native or indigenous prophecy is about like the end. Like I remember hearing one soon as all Indians start speaking the same language, it's the end. It's going to be the end. But you brought in an interesting concept, which I was going to bring up too, is that what does the end mean? The end, is it a literal end, like the earth stops rotating and we spin off into the wherever? Or does it mean like the end of a like you said, the cultural portion of what we are? But that's the question. We got to talking about prophecy and culture and all that business you just got talking about. But this idea then, and I don't know if this makes sense, but I had this question because it relates, and I don't know how it relates. Oh no, I know how it relates, but let's see how you think it relates. So think about what's good in life, being guided by this idea of the beginning of the end. I don't know if that's true or not, but think about it. And then think about this question: do indigenous people, native people, do we seek to find moral perfection? Go.
No.
No. That was an easy one. We don't.
Well, what does Salisha think?
Oh, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
What's moral perfection?
Yeah, okay, so what is moral perfection? So moral perfection, or I guess morality, you could think of as your standards of behavior, your belief concerning what is the acceptable thing to do.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't understand your question.
You're saying something about if it's the end, are we seeking moral perfection?
Okay, so all right. So let's talk about the end first. So the end means or can mean like things cease to exist, right? You get that part though, right? The end meaning
Oh, that's what
things.
it means?
No. That's one meaning.
Oh.
The end
Yeah.
means if we're talking indigenous or native philosophical, I don't know if that's what it even means. But Aaron brought up this interesting thing that I think it's good to point out is that the end does not always mean the physical end of things. It may mean a transition out of a current state of affairs. That I don't know.
I mean, I said I think that's where we got into the identity talk.
Yeah.
But it could also mean I said some prophecies or whatever, but those could literally just mean the end of who we are as a people. Like we might just be like everybody else, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Because I also don't
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just can't imagine.
What?
Excuse me. People sitting around talking about the end of days outside of certain factions of the church.
Yeah.
I heard that with like the church.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, not so much with traditional people or not saying they don't. I mean, I'm not privy to every single conversation
Sure.
by every
Sure.
but in my experience,
Yeah.
most of things that are talked about like in ceremonial life are typically like prosperity things, right? The idea of asking for good fortune, and
Yeah.
it's not like saying like we only have a limited time. Help us be good because we're only on this earth. Like I don't hear that too often. I
Yeah.
don't know. And as far as morality within that,
Yeah.
I think that at least for the Crows, traditionally or historically, our view of morality was very different than that of Christendom.
Sure.
Because I think we're heavily influenced by the church. Like we are heavily influenced by the church. So our view of morality today, even for the most traditional people, is still probably pretty influenced by the church.
Right. Meaning what? Meaning I mean, okay, so what would be the just from your understanding, what would be the current understanding of what that is then? Even that of which is influenced by the church.
Well, look, let's go through the 10 Commandments.
Oh, okay. No,
and
you don't.
Those 10 Commandments are probably
to.
like
no.
not a thing for most native people in the plains and the Rockies. Like that's not a thing they're concerned about, you know.
Okay. So
the other gods idea, like our morality is highly influenced too on like the concept of spirituality, right? So
yeah.
Monotheism.
Yeah.
So monotheism, the belief in one God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
having one God and what you pray to are two different things, where in a Christian morality, that can't be. You can't have that, except in the case of Jesus Christ, who's an intercessor, right? So it's this weird little balance.
Yeah. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, but that can't be the case for native people. So our morality traditionally is challenged all the time, which is interesting because we're probably one of the few peoples on earth that our morality is in a constant state of justification. So there's things inherent in us because your morality is an innate behavior. You know, it's like something that's part of you. It's enculturated. It's groomed from your environment, all that.
Sure.
But our morality is questioned all the time by ourselves and by our surroundings. I don't know if that's the case. It's pretty linear, meaning like connect the dots.
Yeah.
conceptually like Europeans and the church, right? Because that's the origins of the church, and then, but with us, if you were to say, okay, if you were to look at the sun and you say, I want to make a wish to the sun, right? For most native people, if you say that to them, it freaks them out a little bit. There's a little thing in them. Even though they want to agree with you, they like, so their morality's in check all the time. Their ethics are in check all the time. Well, I don't think that's the case with, I could be wrong though. I'm just talking. I'll stop now.
No, this is interesting. This is interesting because sort of what I was building on was this connection between like the idea that things are going to end, so you ought to behave and exhibit a certain moral standard, so that when things do end, that you had achieved, I guess, the closest you can get to what it means to be a human in a way. That's okay. That's kind of a weird connection, but you just kind of mentioned it in a particular way, because that's sort of how, from my understanding of the church and of things, is that there's these things that say the end of days are coming, right? Is that a thing? Maybe I don't know. Is that right? The church kind of says these things, this things are coming to an end, so you ought to behave in a certain way so that you can ensure that you go to heaven,
like in
right?
a nutshell, and like a pretty basic point of view. There's certain books that predict the end of the world, and in order to get right, you do steps A, B, and C.
And
that's
then
real general.
And then when you get to C, after you're dead and gone, then you're thought of to be in heaven, and you're the ideal person, right? It's a place where there's everything's perfect, meaning the way that you act, the way that you think and behave is perfect. You're free from any moral defect. And I was just curious. This is the curiosity that I had going all the way back to the beginning, is because, okay, I guess we first have to agree on, did native people think that there was an end, and that we want to achieve certain things before the end comes, because then that might drive us to do certain things to ensure that whatever happens at the end, that everything's going to be okay.
Man, that's a tough one, because for one, I don't want to assume
I know
what every native was thinking throughout history, but it looked like Salisha wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's too many levels to all those questions.
Let's break it down. Let's break down.
Okay. If you start at the beginning.
Okay, let's break it down.
The first part is dependent on your motivation in life. So if you're trying to live that type of life, like whatever you guys were talking about when I came on here, was you're trying to live a certain life. You're trying to learn your ways. You're trying to do that. There's that's the first variable, because then there's people who don't care. They don't care about. They just want to do what they want to do. They don't want to go offer no tobacco or do none of that. They just want to live a plain life. They don't even go to church. They're just living life, right?
Yeah, work, raise kids.
So there's a range of that.
Yeah.
And then in the other part, you're talking about the moral, the right or wrong situation. I think this is like real simple, but I think everybody wakes up and wants to be a good person.
Well, yeah.
Like everybody
well, I know some people.
Everybody wakes up. No, like if you, I'm sure nobody wakes up and says, "Oh, I'm a piece of crap." When they wake up, everybody, when they wake up by themselves, like imagine you're all by yourself, they think they're a good person. So this effort to have some sort of peace in their life is sort of like the goal, because you're always just trying to kind of have some peace going on in your life. Like you don't want to be having all these crazy thoughts. You don't want to be having no drama. So of course, then if you factor in the range of the type of person that they are, like if they're trying to be real spiritual or not, that's gonna factor into where they're headed with that situation. Because if they don't care about nothing, of course they're not gonna care if they're moral or not. Like that's not an issue. That's not a thing for them. It's just about more of a self-serving situation, you know. But if they're trying to be spiritual and you factor in all that stuff, like all the stuff you try to do to have good things come back to you. Yeah, you're trying to live a moral life.
Sure. If you have that pursuit.
Right.
Yeah. And that pursuit. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
on the last part that you guys are talking about, the end of whatever, is I kind of see what Aaron's coming from, and I think I'm there. Like I see it that way, because if you think behind us, like I tend to be somebody who is always looking at what has already happened to sort of help move forward in life. There was all these eras of times when people had predicted something coming or something, but it was never like Yellowstone blew up. It was never like the end of the world. It was always like some weird like end of that cultural situation, you know, and then they would do something and then it was like a transition and then for something else, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like in end, I sort of feel that only because like I've heard stuff like that. Like I heard somebody tell me one time when I was a kid that their grandma told them that when we had to start buying water, that was the end. And that was like I mean, I grew up before we were really buying bottled water. Like that wasn't a thing when I was younger, you know. So
oh boy. This is a lot. This is a lot.
But it's all based on,
I can't hear you.
Oh, it's all based on like individuals still though, because like everybody's morality, because we're influenced by so many different things now. Everyone's morality is different. That means everyone's perception of the world is going to be like got some kind of skew to it, you know? It's not like there's less uniformity in the sense that like the Salish worldview is in flux right now, right?
I'd say
Yeah, where 200 years ago it wasn't necessarily, or 300 years ago. Like it's just like
I'd say all indigenous worldviews, at least in North America, are in flux.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting out of that whole like world indigenous thought though. Remember I called you the other day and freaked out.
Oh yeah, you don't like
I
you don't like worldview no more.
Well, I mean no, meaning like we're all the same. We're all people from
Well,
I'm not gonna pretend to know I'm not gonna pretend to know what the Aborigines think.
Yeah. Rocky Mountain Plains. Framework of the world.
I'm more comfortable staying in that area.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. On the turtle. Stay on the left shoulder of the turtle.
This is like a really clunky topic.
It is. Well, okay, so like I said, Salisha broke it down a bit. And so the first thing we have to understand is the thing you brought up, and we have to clearly understand what the end means. And now I bet you can go to any native across the left shoulder of the turtle. any native, and they're going to tell you the story that Salisha just said, but in a different version. Oh yeah, my grandma said, or oh yeah, my uncle's grandpa said that the end of the world's gonna
said when the river was stopped, we're gonna cease to exist, and then they think that's the dams, you know.
Yeah. And even I mean, if you talk to any Salish person, they're gonna probably cite old Shining Shirt, and his prophecy of when things were going to end at this particular time. So first there's that, but there's the misunderstanding of the potential misunderstanding of that, and how that misunderstanding was maybe influenced by church things. But I don't know. None of us lived back then, so I don't know. So then that's okay. That gets confusing, because then you have to draw the next, and I don't know what you think about this. You have to draw the next line to this idea of how to act morally. Just like Salisha was saying, everybody wakes up and wants to do something good. Don't want to be a crummy person. Kind of want to do some good things. So what drives that? Because if we're thinking about the end, and our end as an individual could come anytime, we want to have things in order, so that we when we go to wherever we need to go, that we're going to be okay there. Like, we're going to be accepted, I guess. So I don't know if that's exactly true, or if this is heavily influenced by church things. So back to this idea of what is good in life. What is good in life? Seems like if we understood that, then maybe we'd get a good understanding of what sort of what drives our ambition and our pursuits forward. If we're always thinking, well, okay, there's an end coming, and I want to get my affairs in order so that everything will be fine when I reach my end. I don't know if that's the thing that drives us native people in the left shoulder of Turtle Island.
I would say no. Even today, we don't talk about the end, even of our own mortality.
Okay.
And that's evident in the probate process on reservations.
What?
People don't plan. They don't talk. So that has to come from somewhere, because in that sense, it doesn't come from the church, because the church is like, contrary to what I said earlier, I'm contradicting myself.
Okay.
The church does talk a lot about the end of the earth, the end of humanity, the end of time, the end, rapture, leaving this earthly form, all that. So there is a constant state of the end, and there's this notion that you prepare yourself for that time.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, contemporary Christians have called the Bible basic instructions before leaving earth, right?
Really?
That's like so and there's the old saying, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, right? So it's this idea that as soon as you're gone, you're in heaven. So there's this constant state of like talking about the end of your life.
Yeah.
So, but with native people, it's so taboo to wish bad or to will things into existence. Don't talk about that. We don't want that to happen,
Yeah. Don't play with crutches.
And so
don't play in the wheelchair.
Don't play with crutches. Don't play in a wheelchair. Don't talk about dying, don't.
Yeah.
To the point where it's to our own detriment, because we're not realistic about our mortality,
Right.
This is a heavy topic. Like, what are you doing here, man?
Well, I'm curious about I'm curious about this thing that seems to drive the religious ideas of what's right. And it's this idea.
There's an old pro saying. Yeah. There's a saying that, especially, it was pretty popular in the early part of the reservation. I don't hear many people say it now, but you hear reference to it. And they used to say, I practice my native belief. I practice Crow tradition for my life now, so I can have things. Literally, they'll say it, so I can have things.
Yeah.
I go to church so I can go to heaven.
Yeah.
So there's this thing where they'll say, the church is for the dead. Crow belief is for the living.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think you apply that statement to a lot of tribes where they'll say like look at their beliefs, their practices. It's all about good fortune, prosperity, good wealth, literal things, You're pray the plants up, like making wishes for your future and for your loved ones and giving away gifts and all that. It's all about the group. It's all about the next day. They'll say, so may you see a long life, when you make a wish for something like, may you see your grandchildren. You know what I mean? So it's like the idea that you're always wishing good and doing that. And your ceremonies are product of that. Ritual and ceremony are like the catapult for those things. The vessel. Now, when you go to church, it's just this constant state of prepping to die. It's to the point where we glorify the place that's not here. We don't. So it can really create a state of complacency on earth. I mean, like my rewards will be in heaven. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So everything is this constant, like, it's like, I got to be dead for it to be good. You know what I mean? And it's like, whoa. In fact, you could even say with native belief, you're starting over all the time. You could even say, like, I'm going into the sweat. When I come out, I'm reborn.
Let's
start fresh,
idea when the sun comes back up, you got another chance. Do it again.
You got
do it again.
Exactly.
When the solstice hits, you got another chance to redo your year, start over.
It's turning around now. The sun's going to turn around now. And so we're gonna it's good now. We can make good wishes and we're starting over. So this is interesting. I just thought of this in the moment. So that means in terms of mental health, if you're raised with that mentality, that means that whatever problems you're carrying from the day before, your approach to life the next day would be like, it's a new day. We're gonna move away from those things, But in the idea, not to combat the church, but just this idea that you're in sin, you've missed the mark. That I messed up. I have to seek forgiveness for this. And I'm in a constant state of how do I fix it? I messed up. Guilt. My world is shocked. I have to right the wrong where there is, I mean, there's wrongs in native belief, but the way you hold on to wrongs are different. Carry wrongs are different.
It's true. It's true.
Or no?
No, you're right on. You're going for it, man. So that brings about a whole different meaning, just like you said about what it means to be a person, to be a human on this earth. It's not, I mean, I guess it's somewhat unfair to use the backdrop of the church to frame up what
I don't think it's unfair because it's all we know. It's the two truths that we understand as native people. There's this natural truth that was given to us from our creation. And then there was this introduced truth. I'll even go on record saying I'm not against the beliefs of the church. But there's no question that they're foreign to us. So when you grow up in Indian country and people say like, well, you're mad at the church or you're against the church. Well, those are my only options.
I guess so, ain't it?
So
I guess so.
You know what I mean?
So
it's kind of like if a guy got his heart broke by women all his life and then it'd be like, this guy hates women. Well, that's his environment. That's the environment that was created for him. Like his pain comes from his experiences with women. That doesn't mean he's against women, but that's his knowledge base. That's what he's going to talk about. Just like if you don't drive a car and you only ride a bike and you wreck on your bike, you have nothing negative to say about cars. but you're always on a bike, and I'm like, I'm always wrecking my bike, you know. So it's our two truths are the church and our native belief. Those are our two truths.
You're on a ripper, man.
Well, I'm trying to keep you away from this confusing topic, but you actually explained how this is possible in another episode with your underlying delirium dual magistrate or whatever that. What was that called?
Non-overlapping magisteria. Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, conceptually, it's an idea that two truths can happen simultaneously.
Correct. Yeah.
So that means that people can live in that duality, right? And people can negotiate duality, and they do.
Uh-huh.
The social science is in.
Yeah.
We're of all the experiments, native people, one thing we've proven is that whether it's good or bad is not the question. It's the fact that can we live within those two truths? And we have, right?
Yeah.
So that means when our criticisms come out about the church and or about our native beliefs, that's neither good or bad because that's our only truths. Those are the only two data sets we can work from.
Yeah.
I have no business making comments about Islam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. Yeah. Now I forgot what I was going to say about it.
So when you said we shouldn't come at church like that. Well, I mean, but we should because that's the only thing we have experience with.
But I was not saying exactly that. I was just trying to say I want. Well, I guess even what I was saying is sort of described by what you said. I was trying to pull the backdrop of the church off to try to understand what us natives think of as something that is human, what do we conceive as this thing, like what's best in life? Like for us, if we look at a human and say, oh, that person, that's the best things in life, right? What they did right there. But trying to pull it from the backdrop of the church to say, well, I don't want to think about that influence, and I want to peer back 6,000 years and say, well, what were they thinking back then? And did they have this overarching idea of extinction? What did you say?
Yellow fat.
Yellow fat. Yeah. But
were you warm?
Yeah.
Were you fed? Could you sit and relax and stare at the stars? That means you did all your work that day.
Yeah.
You did everything you needed to do. So you can sit there. Simplicity.
Yeah.
I equate good fortune with simplicity, meaning like, if I have a good life, it means I can relax.
Yeah.
If I'm in the brain state of moving forward, even in the brain, in that ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah.
Because there's times where I can't relax. I can't. And that's a whole nother episode. And that's probably not for this. That's for my counselor, right?
That's for your counselor. That's for your counselor.
We've all dealt with that where I think in the way I see good fortune, to be lucky, to be a lucky person is, can I sit at my own table and drink my own coffee and be able to relax, without having to think too much about if I'm pulled down and burdened by tasks that haven't happened yet. I think that stressful life and that ebbs and flows, though, because I would say right now that's how I am. Like I don't feel in that sense, I don't feel super lucky because I have a list of things I got to get done, But in one sense, I'm the way Crow people historically believe this is if you had accomplishments and those accomplishments were witnessed, they'll say that person is lucky. They have good fortune.
Yeah.
And the more you're seen as someone who is fortunate, the more you're used in the community. But when you're unfortunate, when you're riddled with misfortune, they'll say nobody knows your name.
Yeah.
So So maybe that's a sign when nobody's calling your name anymore, calling you for advice, or nobody's calling your name for a giveaway, or nobody's asking you to come to this event. And we can call them haters, we can say all this stuff, but in the most basic sense of our reality is that we're misfortunate. We have misfortune. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it's not a question of the root of that problem. It's more of a question of the result of it. So like, it doesn't matter. If you're broke, right? It doesn't matter the reasons, and you can blame everybody else, but the result is you're broke. So it's like that. I think it's the same sense. If you have misfortune, it's the same sense. It's like,
yeah.
If I even know what we're talking about, but I'll let you guys talk. I'm gonna mute my. You ever have those moments where you're like, I believe I've gone too far.
I think I've said too much. Nobody's listening anymore. I must be unfortunate.
No, yesterday I was listening to a little bit of Noam Chomsky and Scott Momaday, and with riddled with some Farrakhan and Cornell West, so I'm feeling a bit rambunctious.
Riddle me this. Riddle me this. No,
on a side note, real quick, time out.
Okay, go. Okay, timing out.
We gotta line them. Did you ever notice there's a whole generation of like elders that speak like badass English?
Yeah.
Well, like very articulate.
They are
like the way they talk English is better than their kids and their grandkids. And so me and Miranda were talking about this. So I showed her Noam Chomsky, and so we started talking about Noam Chomsky, and we started talking about Scott Momaday, and then I got into this Farrakhan thing. So that's where that. But I had a Crow elder say to me one time. He said, "It would behoove you." That's what he said. It would behoove you to provide a meal for these elders, as they may be a bit reticent to share knowledge.
What? Let's back up. Not Whoville. Not Whoville.
Rewind.
Yeah. I was like, what? Nobody
Dr. Seuss is going on here.
Let me just Google that.
Yeah. Like,
how do you even spell
in English?
Behoove. Behoove. Is that what you're saying? I thought you said behoove. Not dehoove.
It would
dehoof
you. It would be.
I thought you said Whoville.
Whoville. To dehoof you.
Isn't that Sam I Am from Sam I Am?
Yeah, what in the Dr. Seuss is going on here? Oh man. Yeah, that
was no.
He booted himself.
He was laughing so hard he
hung up.
He was laughing so hard his computer died. Now he has to log on his phone.
He probably hit the X button because he was laughing so hard. Was he laughing?
Wait, yeah. He was laughing so hard he was moving all over.
I don't know what happened there.
You laughed yourself off the Zoom.
You laughed yourself off. It would
behoove you guys don't need to say that.
It would behoove you to charge your laptop.
Behoove.
Nobody's gonna know that. You guys, you gotta edit that whole part out.
We're not doing that.
No. It would behoove. I would be behooving.
I'm behooved.
To edit that out. I'm reticent to edit that out.
To provide a meal for these elders, as it may be.
Was he mad at you?
As they may be. He was giving me advice. That's how he talks all the time.
Oh god.
That's how he talks all the time.
Wait. Behoove.
There's another story.
Wait. Behoove.
I'm not gonna say any names, but there was another story where they came up and said, asked this individual, how do you say the word for car in Crow? And he said, "Iala." And they said, well, what does it mean? And then he said, it means moves upon its own volition.
Wait a minute. How do you say volition in Crow?
It's in there.
It moves by itself, moves on its own, right? Moves on its own, moves upon its own volition.
That's a word you use a lot. I don't know if you know that. Volition.
He probably has a calendar on his desk that has all the vocabulary.
Yeah. I
use that word a lot because of this conversation. I witnessed this. This is a few years back.
That's like in the 90s when
it became a joke.
It's like in the 90s when a popular word came out in the R&B song. Then everybody started using it. Prerogative.
What?
It's your prerogative.
It's like Clueless. It's like Clueless, the movie, you know, when she says sporadic. I hope not sporadically.
Yeah, then a whole generation got to know the word sporadic.
That's more from my time. I think prerogative is like for the early 90s. I was in the first grade.
Oh, yes, my prerogative. First grade.
First graders saying it.
Anyway, I thought that would be the sidebar that because I've been noticing this. There's a group of elders from their mid 70s to like their mid 80s. The way they speak English is like pretty impeccable. Like there's a lot. Not everyone. It's not across the board, but I've run across this a lot. You know, I don't know if you remember the late Daryl Kipp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From Browning, he was the same way. Could speak like amazing English.
Yeah.
You know.
That was probably from that time when there was a lot of pressure to be like, you know, to be educated, to be like the dominant
more educated
folks. Yeah. I'm guessing.
And they're also from a time too in academics where like philosophy.
Oh yeah.
And literature, creative writing was like big. So their influence were influenced a lot by pontificating.
Oh yeah, yeah. It ain't like today where they give PhDs just to anybody.
They also were the first ones to see colored. They were also the first ones to see colored TV. They also know stuff about the transatlantic accent.
Transatlantic accent? What?
Okay.
Whoa.
Let's go back to talking about the end of the world.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. They also understood shorthand.
They could tell you.
Yeah, that's bizarre. You ever run I'm sure you do because of your ethnographic studies stuff. When you go into archives, you run into like shorthand notes, huh?
Oh man, so difficult to read.
Yeah. Dude, I know.
Yeah,
you need someone to cipher it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Do you ever run into where these old ethnographers didn't want to like say certain things, so they would write it in Latin?
Yeah. Then I got to figure out what the heck does that mean. There was one I was looking at too. I can't remember what the word was, but I had to look it up, and I couldn't even find it on a search engine. I had to go like deep into like a JSTOR search to figure out what this Latin word meant.
JSTOR.
Yeah, for a language that's not supposed to change ever, you can't ever find unified spelling for it. You know.
I know. Yeah. Anyway, I can't even remember where we're at now. I don't know where we're at.
I don't know. To be honest, I think you need to cut that whole first half hour.
Why?
It's really clunky. It's such a weird conversation to have. No, maybe the fact that we couldn't have the conversation right away is a good indication of where native think is on the topic.
No,
we didn't even know how to talk about
dang it. No,
we don't talk about those things.
No, I needed to set this up because there's this thing, man. There's this thing going on.
He's getting at something.
Okay.
I'm trying to finally get to the thing.
Okay.
There's this
talking for an hour.
There's this thing, man.
Get to it.
There's this thing. It's like this idea. Well, you know, climate change, global warming. There's this. I mean, everybody faces this in school. Kids face it in school, but it even bleeds into Indigenous scholarship, like this indigenous idea of the global extinction crisis or whatever. And so then people are trying to understand, well, what does extinction mean from an indigenous lens? Now, of course, indigenous means a lot of different things, but I wanted to try to establish, well, how do we think about even the idea of extinction? And we went down a road and we seen that, yeah, I mean, we don't think about it much. We don't consider it because it doesn't even come into our idea of what makes like a good moral person, because that good moral person is contingent upon the here and now, not for the preparation of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
it. That sums it up. That
sums it up.
Yeah,
I like how you made that full circle.
Yeah, that sums it up. So how do we respond? So if somebody asks you, "Hey, Aaron, help us with this plan to develop an understanding of how natives from your area think about the ideas of extinction."
It'd be a pretty short conversation. I don't think we think about it too often, but you could say that this is being asked of us right now with the
It
whole
is.
traditional ecological knowledge
Yeah.
and like this idea that it's a response to something that's happening in the natural world.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're going to get fractionated knowledge to try to fix a problem that was caused by us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's hard because
yeah,
I don't think the traditional native thinks in the sense that the world ends when we do. I think that we're participants in the planet, and that our time may come and go, and that's of no bearing to what happens in the planet, you know.
Right.
That makes sense, right?
It does. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. So I don't know. It seems to me to be an issue, and it seems to me provide a great deal of misrepresentation. Simply because even the idea of our prophecies might be getting twisted, even by our own people, about what that means, like what the end means.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my whole point. Mm-hmm. That was my whole point. I'm not cutting out the first half hour. You didn't ask
it like that, though.
That was a pretty. I know.
That was a good ask. What you just said right there, that was good.
Yeah. But see, it would have been a really short episode. But I had to understand, first of all, the idea of the prophecy. Otherwise, nobody would know. Nobody would understand. I had to understand the idea of what it means to be a morally good person. Otherwise, people wouldn't understand. And it's not driven by.
Or we could just.
What?
Go ahead.
It's just not driven by the idea of things coming to an end. Okay, now say. What are you going to say? Do it.
Or we could just announce the truth in that you didn't have a podcast idea, and as soon as you press record, you started thinking about something, and that's what came up. So you didn't totally hash it out. You had to do it while we were talking.
No, that is not true.
Don't lie, because I know you, Shandin. And then when I said Salisha, jump on in 30 minutes, you thought, now I have to come up with a topic where she can be included.
No.
So then you had to the wheels had to turn.
No. Here's my notes, man. I thought of this. See my notes? Do you see
typed that while we were talking.
I did not. I did that while we were talking.
I'm just playing.
I know. But no, that does happen.
Part of it is,
that does happen in a lot of the evolution of what we talk about happens sort of on the fly. So you're right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do think our audience needs to know, though, how smart you are, and that you can come up with a podcast topic like this. Most people aren't going to, though. Most people aren't going to sit around. They're going to talk about fry bread and
aunties.
Matriarchs.
Yeah, you know,
the matriarch.
Changing the first letter on a word and then thinking it's revolutionary.
Oh my gosh.
What? What are you slamming?
Patriarch and matriarch.
Well,
we're gonna rematriate and not repatriate. First of all, I don't. I don't know. If the result is the same, does it matter what the word is called? Anyway, I don't know. I think that's trendy stuff.
That's another
Well,
one I want to talk about.
Let's talk about fry bread and donuts.
Oh yeah, fry bread and donuts.
Oh, what's the difference between an elephant ear and a fry bread? Anyway,
one has more sugar.
Go ahead. One has more sugar, which I'm all on board for that.
Yeah.